What if every challenge you face is just a stepping stone to greater success? What if the key to resilience is finding the right path through adversity? Welcome to PhD with Woman on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's PhD Positivity Hack Delivered will be by our guest, Prisca Muona. Topic: Redirection, not failure. Lessons in resilience from Malawian finance leader. Episode 174 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women on IT, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my module, and empathy is critical when you getting redirection, not failing. Redirection, not failure, lessons in resilience from Malawian finance leader. This week, we are exploring the inspiring journey of Prisca Muona, a seasoned Malawian accountant and the new managing director at the Agriculture Commodity Exchange for Africa. With over 16 years of expertise in finance and auditing, Prisca's story is a testament to the power of redirection over failure. Her journey is not just about climbing the corporate ladder, it's about transforming obstacles into opportunities. As a director on the exchange board and a trustee of the ACE Trust Board, she exemplifies how resilience can redefine one's career trajectory. Prisca, let's start with a simple question. Where in the world are you today?
Hey, Viti. Thank you for having me. Sitting in my office, Lilongwe, Malawi.
Fantastic. In Malawi, and we met just a week ago in Kenya, and this is a recording for our dear listeners. We had this chance to visit beautiful retreat with giraffes, and we talked during the bus ride about your humble beginnings. And here is a proverb that I heard that is popular in Malawi. When you are crossing over a river, you might be eaten by crocodiles, but don't let yourself get bitten by the little fish, which suggests that it's really a great proverb to use when we talk about your humble beginnings. So tell me, what happened? How did your life trajectory redirected you to the successful career of yours?
Thank you. So, my name is Prisca Muona, as already mentioned. Was born on an island on Lake Malawi. Grew up there until my primary school. Like, I did my primary school on the island, and came to the city when I was starting my secondary school. When I started my secondary school, I think at this point I didn't even know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I needed to go to school. So after when I was in secondary school, we had accounting as a subject. I started getting interest into the subject. And when I finished my secondary school, I was like, maybe this is what I should do. So I enrolled at Malawi College of Accountancy and an ACCA course. I started my first the diploma of ACCA, and I immediately started work as a junior auditor at a local audit firm there, where I worked for, I think, 18 months and successfully finished my diploma. Then joined another audit firm where I was like, okay, I can't just have this diploma. I need to push myself and do more. And started went back to ACCA. This is part 2 now, which is like an advanced diploma. And working, paying for myself, and I did my advanced diploma while I was working. Then along the way, I joined another audit firm, Johnson & Wilson then. Now it rebranded and changed. I think they're non-profit, where I continued working while I was still doing my studies, like self-sponsoring. I didn't quite finish my ACCA. Then got a chance to join an international organization, ACDI VOCA. ACDI VOCA was in Lilongwe. I was based in Blantyre. I saw the advert, applied, I got lucky, and relocated to Lilongwe. So I worked with this international organization on their 18 months project, where it extended, but with a related international organization, ASI. And I found myself at ACE simply because the donor that was funding this organization also funded ACE. So we'll talk about that in detail later in the interview. Yeah, so found myself at ACE, started as a project accountant, then moved to senior accountant, then moved to finance manager, where I was managing the 4 entities. So ACE has 4 entities. So I have my team of accountants and working on managing finances of the 4 entities. Through my work as a finance manager, I found myself learning a bit of each and every entity. And we'll also talk about that later in the interview. Found myself a managing director of the exchange. So that's, in short, my journey.
That's fascinating journey, but we have to say that for those of our listeners who do not know the cultural differences, maybe you could give us an overview. What's it like to be a girl that is raised on a small island in Malawi? What was your life like?
It was hard. It was hard. I remember when I was working with ACDI VOCA. A lady came from America, so we're chatting and talking about our backgrounds, where you're coming from, and she was so surprised, like, okay, she was pretty my age and expected I would know the cartoons she was watching. And I was like, no, that's not how I grew up. I grew up in the village. I was a proper village girl who would wake up and make sure you had food in the house. Although you are in primary school, but you had to work. So you kind of forced to grow up before your time, which I did. But I think for me, it made me who I am today, because it made me stronger and resilient. So yeah, it was not easy, but here I am.
For Gen Z, it can be quite challenging to imagine. As you mentioned to me in our private chat, that when you were 10, you had to make dinner, you had to look after the household. So, how did you cope with preparing for exams and having a busy life as somebody who's looking after the household?
Honestly, I think God just makes a way, regardless of the situation. makes a way of make things work. I would lie if I say I had time to prepare for exams. No. But I made sure I understand what's being taught the time I was sitting in the classroom. So I think that's because out of classroom, I was expected to do a lot of things. I completely did not have a time to say, I'll have to sit down and prepare for exams. No, I didn't have that. But I never failed. Although I grew up with my grandmother, she was very odd. So I had to do a lot around the house to help, including helping her with the very, very small businesses that she had that could help the family, like making muffins. So from a small age, I knew how to wake up at night, help her do that, or when she's very weak to do, I would do that. I would usually start my day 3 a.m. Make sure I do that. Then living on the island, you weren't taking your bath at home. So in the morning, would rush to the lake, take your bath, wash your plates, come back home, leave your stuff. So I'll be going to school with my merchandise. So like I became an entrepreneur at a very young age, right? Yeah, so I'll sell my stuff along the way, then I'll get to school. If I have any left, I'll sell during break time. When I'm done, I'll make sure with the money that I have, I buy something for back home, prepare for the next day. So that was kind of my routine. Yeah.
So I know that traditional patriarchal structures often dictate that women's primary roles are within the home as wives or mothers. But it seems that these societal expectations didn't limit your aspiration. So let's move into the 16 years in finance in Malawi. Let's be brutally honest. Was there ever a moment, maybe earlier on, when someone, maybe even yourself, whispered that this industry wasn't really, friendly to a female?
Not quite. I think when I was starting, we had a good representation of girls doing accounting. So, but I think soon after, when I went into the industry, that's when I realized, oh, I think we are so many of us that the industry is kind of saturated and the return was not that attractive. I think that's where it hit me. But navigating through the choice of being an accountant, learning to be an accountant, starting work, just as any other profession, I would say it's got, you meet people that sometimes are just rude, they're just naughty, but I won't quite say it was very challenging as a professional. We have so many female accountants in the country, so many professional accountants. Yeah.
So you talk about redirection, not failure. Can you give me a real example, a moment that felt like a punch in the gut or a career setback, and that moment felt devastating? Walk me through that. How did you manage to reframe that as redirection?
Okay, so this realization was, I mentioned earlier, I started, I had moved from Blantyre to Lilongwe to work with an international organization. This organization was being funded by a certain donor. So at the end of their project, at the end of the project, the same donor was also funding other organizations. So what they say, your name being mentioned in the places where you are, but with opportunities, somehow my name was mentioned to these new organizations that were getting funding from the donor that we're just parting ways with. Our contract had ended, it was not being extended, so that meant me out of job. So one of the new beneficiaries reached out to me saying, your name was mentioned, we are getting this grant from this donor, and you come highly recommended that you managed their project very well. We are getting funding from them, and we need an accountant. So we think we should take you on board. So I was like, okay. Mind you, this was 3 weeks to the end of my contract, and I didn't know if I'm going to find another job or not. And knowing how the industry is, how many of accountants are out there, it's not easy just to land on another job. I didn't know how long it was going to take for me. And I was like, okay, this is such a blessing. They said, we need to meet you. All we want is to marry the face to the CV, really. Your job is yours. So I went and visited their offices. We basically just had a chat, not an interview. And I was told, no, this is all wanted. You have the job, we'll send you an offer letter tomorrow. I went home excited, told everyone I have a new job and I'm not gonna be home. Everything is fine. Next day went by, I didn't get the offer letter. Second, third, a week passed. Then I decided to follow up. These guys decided to avoid me, not even picking my calls. So I was like, okay, I've already told everyone I have a new job. And I really, really desperately need it. I made calls, and I said, okay, if God wanted me to have this, He would have given me. So I'll just let it be. Until now, I don't know what happened, but a week later, another organization, which is the one I'm working with, reached out with the same story. So we're being offered a grant. We had a meeting with the donor. You come recommended because you've worked with them. Would you like to join our team? I said, yes. I went. I had the same chat, and I was offered a job. Now, this organization is where I am right now. I started as a project accountant, went through the ladders, and managed to move into the managing director role. So when I'm saying redirection, I mean, if I had received that offer, I might not be where I am today. I might be there as an accountant, maybe moved, but I doubt my profession would have moved the way I have moved here. So that for me made me realize, oh, okay, that was a no, that was a blow to me, but it was actually just life redirecting me to where I'm actually supposed to be. Yeah, so that's what I meant by the redirection.
Starting small and growing methodically, that sounds almost, I don't know, for some men, they would say unambitious in today's go big or go home culture. In a world obsessed with overnight success, what's the power in taking the slow steps? And were there moments where you felt pressure to rush or cut corners?
I think in life, we all just want to grow, to move from first step to another step. I won't lie to say I didn't want just to take a shortcut, but luckily I didn't. And starting small has made me learn. I think even in business, when you start very small, you tend to understand the detail of what you're doing. So my starting small made me understand the lowest level of the industry, going up and up and up as an accountant, and up to where I am right now. Starting small as an employee of ACE has helped me understand the dynamics of the organization better than if I just started on top there. And
You
I
can.
think,
Uh-huh.
yeah, starting small gives you a better foundation, in short.
Excellent. See, so you also talk about taking bold steps out of your comfort zone. So, what's the
Yes.
scariest bold step you've ever taken in your career? The one that made your stomach turn, or the one that you almost backed out of it? What was the fear and what pushed you to do it anyway?
Wow. So, in 2023, I think, early 2023. No, let me start with take you backward. Just when I started working for ACE, I saw some document. I don't even remember what it was, but in that document, there were details of what I think it was a strategy. I think it is. I can't even remember. But I remember reading in that document that ACE is currently being run by expatriates. But the plan is to mentor local staff to take up the positions or the major positions and leave it for local staff to run the things. At this point, I read it and I didn't even think I could be one of those. For me, at this point, was I'm a project accountant. If I will grow, maybe I can be a finance manager. But running the organization, no, it can't be. So I ignored it and just continued being the accountant that I am, I was at the time. So I concentrated on being an accountant. After working, I think, for 8 months, I was moved into a different entity. As I said, ACE has 4 entities. As a senior accountant, now this was completely different from what I was doing. In the first entity I was in, I was an accountant on a project. Then I'm being moved to a profit-making entity as a senior accountant. While there, I was like, okay, I'll learn this. I'm an accountant after all. I know the basics, although I don't have experience in it. And yes, I managed. And few months later, I don't think I was even there for a year, the finance manager resigns. And our CEO says, are you up to take this challenge and lead the team as a finance manager? At first, I was like, okay, that's too big for me. Because being a finance manager for us meant knowing what is happening in all of the entities. But by this time, ACE had 2 entities. And I knew a bit about the trust and just a little about the exchange. Then I said, yeah, I'll take it. I'll see how it goes. So I accepted the challenge and started as a finance manager. Along the way, the second entity was born. Along the way, the fourth entity was born. When I'd just joined, I think when I was starting as a finance manager, ACE had, I think, 8 projects. So it meant managing 8 projects, managing the exchange. It was quite tough, but that was not my peak. Back in 2023, I've served as a finance manager. At least I have knowledge of the different entities. Then the exchange director left, not in 2023. Then in between, I think left around 17, 19. So 1920 actually. So we had consultants coming in and going, coming in and going, coming in and going. In 2023, I think we had our last consultant who did January to June. Then this day, we're going through the cash flows with CEO, and we're discussing. We don't have funding for this position, but it needs a person. So I was like looking at the cash flow. We can't afford to hire one at the moment. And we just have to do with what we have. Maybe we split the roles and just keep us going until we manage to secure funding for the position. Then along the conversation, I go like, I can help. I can take up some of the tasks and let's see how it goes. Then our CEO is like, oh, why didn't I think about this? I think you're the perfect person for this. I'm like, okay, you think I can do it? He's like, yeah, I know you can do it. And that's how I found myself on the mentorship program to become the managing director for the exchange. And
the rest is history, as they say. The rest is history.
Yeah, at the moment I kept asking myself, how can I suggest that? Can I even manage it? I know the organization. I know what it does, but do I have knowledge of the industry?
Clearly, right? Your CEO knew that you can fulfill that role, and
yes.
It's so much easier when you have somebody in the leadership position that believes in your abilities. So I'm glad that you took on that role, because so often women would say, I think I'm not ready, whereas you just took on the challenge and just run with it. So let's talk about ACE, commodity exchange. What's the deeper meaning for you beyond the finance? What's the impact you feel you're making, and why is that important to you?
Okay, so Malawi as a country, it's an agricultural reliant country. Our economy is reliant on agriculture, and we have a few cash crops. But the main land, the bigger portion of land, is in the hands of smallholder farmers. And they contribute over 70% of our produce. These smallholder farmers are spread across the country. They live in the very rural areas of the country. And what ACE does is trying to bring them on board. When I say bring them on board, I mean they're the main producers of our produce, but they lack access to structured markets. They lack access to storage facilities, and they lack access to financing. So this is what ACE is trying to do. So for me, being here and helping to move that agenda goes beyond professional satisfaction, because reaching out to that rural farmer, educating them, bringing them into the structured market is providing something that is very important to them. So one of the things that S is doing is trying to find financing, to provide financing to these farmers. Mind you, they're in the village, they are producing. They really don't have proper storage facilities. They don't know where the right market is, and they are mostly taken advantage of. During the harvest, vendors will just go into the village, offer the smallest amount that they can offer. Now, because they don't know how much the price is, maybe a few kilometers from them, also they're in desperate need of cash, they'll sell their produce that they've struggled to get. Now, what S does is send market information messages to these farmers, informing them of what market prices are in the cities or nearest to them, so they make an informed decision. What we've tried to do is provide to work to ensure they have storage facilities near them. We've helped to construct a few through donor funds and hand it to them, but we also link them to storage operators around them. And a few years back, we introduced a product where they're able to access financing using their commodity as a collateral. Among other things that does is taking care of the farmer, and that is close to my heart. And that what led me to decide maybe I step out of this office and get into the technical side of things and just, yeah.
So finance can be incredibly technical, numbers driven, and exchange isn't really, difficult to grasp for somebody like a farmer or somebody growing in a village. But you also emphasize the soft skills for someone in finance, maybe even resistant to the idea of soft skills, thinking it's all about the spreadsheets. What's the one soft skill that has been absolutely critical to your success, and why?
Of course, resilience is my number one. Wherever you are, an accountant or an entrepreneur, you just have to develop that thick skin and just be resilient. Then I think effective communication works, because in your work environment, you just got to know how to communicate with everyone around you. As well as if you're an entrepreneur, you just need to know how to package your message for your customers and for your clients to sell yourself or to sell your product. So resilience, effective communication, as well as strategic networking. You've got to know who to talk to, who to keep in your list, who to reach out to. So for you to do that, you've got to properly network and know the important players in your field. Yeah.
So you've risen through the ranks of ACE, starting as a project accountant and then going through different roles. What did you learn about leadership? You had a great mentor, and I believe he's still mentoring you. But I'm wondering, how did experiencing different roles shape the leader you are today? What's the biggest misconception people have about leadership, especially at the managing director level?
I think for me, understanding is really important for a leader. When I say understanding, I mean understanding your team, because You can police all you want, but policing might get people to do things, but it doesn't grow them. Including them in your decisions, working together with them, reaching out, even if when you know what should be done, but reaching out and asking for their ideas. It makes them believe and know this belongs to all of us. And the decision that you make at the end of the day becomes a decision for everyone, not for you. It won't be, she said we should do this. They'll say we decided we should do this. That gives ownership to every member of the team. And ownership makes things happen.
Beautiful. Balancing financial oversight, different roles, working full time, and also having, a household. I mean, you've got two kids on board. So I'm wondering, what about, your, how do you protect your well-being in such a demanding career?
Wow.
Have you ever experienced a burnout?
No. Like you just made me kind of realize, am I protecting my well-being at the moment? I think you just have to find some space to be you. One thing I've done is make sure my family comes first. And lucky for me, I have a very good support system at home. My husband is my number one cheerleader. If I have to work late, he'll sit with me, waiting for me. Maybe because he's also an accountant, my husband is a chartered accountant. He understands the nature of our work. And he has also been someone who has pushed me. Like, I really can't talk about my professional growth without mentioning him. He's kind of being the push also behind me. When I had started as a finance manager, I had my advanced diploma. He kept badging me. He was like, no, you can't have that position with an advanced diploma. You need to enroll and do your degree. And I did. And he supported me throughout. So when you have support at home, as hectic as work can be, you get home, you feel I'm home. I think you just automatically relax. You just automatically feel like everything is fine. You're not stressed at home. So I guess that has helped me. But also, as busy as I've been, I think 23, 24 has been my hectic years because I had to enroll for my master's in 23. I started in October. At the same time, I was full-time finance manager. At the same time, I had started my mentorship into the managing director role. That meant me being involved in every activity that had to do with the exchange, tagging along to my CEO's every meeting because I need to understand the industry. I need to understand what is happening. It was kind of on-job learning, on-job mentorship. So it was really hectic because I would knock off, go home. I would expect, I have an assignment that I have to do. I still have some work that I didn't finish. I get home, I find my kids, they'll be like, we're waiting for you for us to do our assignments today. So you still have to be a man that you have to sit down and guide them. Then when you're done, you have to get back to your assignment. So yeah, it was hectic, but I think, as I said earlier, you just get that energy. Somehow you just make it happen. So yeah,
So looking
yes,
back at your 16 years career, is there anything that you wish you were taught when you started, or is there any advice you would give yourself, younger self?
yes. I think I came across this book, Mindset, by
Harold
Mindset.
Dweck, is it?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
So it kind got me to wake up. It made me realize I've built my fixed mind so much that it overly overweights my other mindset. So reading this book made me realize I've kind of closed myself. I think the background, the growing up, then choosing being an accountant, where my first work is audit, and this is a work that requires you to follow procedures. Policies have to be followed. This is have to be done this way. That has to be done. I think that made me kind of feel things have to be done a certain way. If they're not done a certain way, they're not done. So reading this book made me realize no, 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 no. Life is not just about this. There's a lot to learn. And failing is also learning. So, if anything, I wish I had read this book some years back. I think it would have changed my mind or my life more than it has done the past 2 years because I just listened to read it.
So you've got now the leadership mindset. So what next for you?
Kick Christian and be the CEO. You shouldn't hear me say that. I think right now I just started this role really. So right now is concentration is to grow in this role. I'm still learning. So I want to learn as much as I can. I think I spent last year learning. Apart from my executive MBA, I was learning the industry, tagging along to meetings. So what I'll do is I've attended most of the meetings that I would just go and sit and just listen. Maybe people would wonder, why did she even come? But I was learning. So what I'll do is each time I hear about something that I know I don't have enough knowledge about, I'll write it down and just put a star at the end. And right now my diary is full of stars. So whenever I have space, I'll just go back and deal with one star. Find as much as information I can get on that topic, whether on YouTube, wherever I can, even AI, just I need to understand about this. So I still, and by the way, I'm still not done with my master's degree. I'm still doing my research, but towards the end of it. So I
And on
have,
top of that, you're building a house and doing
yes,
so many things. As they say, there is no match for a female multitasking. So
yeah, we are doing that. Yeah, so currently I have so many stars in my diary that I need to tick. Until they're done, I think I'm in my learning process just to get as more information as I can.
mm. So So Eleanor Roosevelt once said, women are like tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are in hot water. In life, how are you in hot water? How are you brewing?
Wow. Um, I think last year is what I would describe myself in that space where I had to handle being a student, being a full-time finance manager, being a student at work for the new upcoming role, then being a mom, being a wife. He still had to be a friend. He still had to be a family member. And with Malawi, we believe in extended family. We are just there for each other. So you are expected to be there for your family. And we just close to each other where you can't just ignore because distance won't be a problem there. So juggling all of that has kind of made me realize, oh, okay, I have this strength. I'm more than I think I am. I think, yeah, that.
So, in terms of hot water, were there any situation where you felt under huge pressure, and how did you solve that huge pressure? Are you running like a headless chicken, or are you methodical? You sit down, you put pros and cons. What's your strategy for problem solving?
I believe if we dwell on the symptoms, we won't get the problem sorted. So my approach has been, if there's an issue, let's get to the root cause. What caused it? Because unless you uproot that root, the problem won't go, it won't disappear. So I believe you have to sit down, look at where this has originated from. When you do that, you put in measures. And after that, do your monitoring. Just make sure it's working. Just make sure it's improving. That's how I solve my problems.
Excellent. Let's imagine that you could meet anyone in the world for a private breakfast. Who would you pick and where would you meet them for this special occasion?
Okay. Growing up, I've seen so much of Condoleezza Rice. And I've always been fascinated by the woman. I think I just would choose her to sit down with her somewhere around nature. So I grew up on the island, but I still love water. I still love to see the water. So I would want to meet her in a place surrounded by nature. I would love maybe to sit on a tree or just somewhere overlooking the lake or the sea and just ask her, how did you manage to do this? I mean, she's a black African American. So I'm sure she had to deal with racial and she had to deal with gender issues to get to where she is or to where she's been. I would really, really love to hear her story because I believe she's one resilient woman.
Mm.
Be
Rice
my
was the first female African American Secretary of State and the
Yes,
first
how did she
woman to
get there?
serve.
That's what I would want to understand. Yes.
Absolutely. So she definitely had to open many doors, and hopefully there will be many more to follow. In terms of your career, you've got a daughter and a son, and I'm wondering what is the number one advice you give to them in terms of their career or their future education?
Okay. So each time they come to me and say, Mommy, someone was not fair to me, I tell them the world is not fair. People are not fair. And I would want them to grow up knowing that. Because if they think everything is going to be as it is at home, they will be very disappointed. So I kind of feel it's better to let them know things are not going to go smooth as they're going in this house. Because while out there, the world is rough. So they need to get prepared. And just for collection, I'm raising 4 kids. So I teach all of them that to say, the world is not fair. You've got to be strong. You've got to be resilient. You have to know what you want and work towards what you want. But don't expect fairness in this world.
When you are crossing over a river, you might be eaten by crocodiles, but don't let yourself get beaten by the little fish.
Yes, exactly.
Don't cry over these bites.
Come again?
Don't cry over these bites. That would be my extra proverb add-on. Now, Prisca, can you give us your favorite life lesson quote and how did it change you?
I think I would go back to the scenario I explained to you. And my quote would be, the no you get today might just be life directing you to where you're actually supposed to be. Not all no's are bad. Some no's are a redirection from God. God knows this is not for you. This is not what I meant for you. And because we don't know, we cry over that no. And we feel maybe this is the end of me. But no, God has plans for each and everyone. And He's got, when He says no, He's got something better for you. That no I got back in 2014 redirected me to where I am. I surely believe without that no, I won't be managing director today. That no saved me and brought me to my rightful path. That would be my quote.
And here is another quote brought to us by Racy. If at first you think it's rejection, it's probably actually newfound freedom, Emilian Allen said. Prisca, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences today. I think it's a great lesson in resilience, in understanding that humble beginnings are not going to dictate your future. Is there anything else that you would like to leave as a message to the ladies watching us far and wide, whether Africa or other countries?
Yes. I would say whatever you want to do, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to advance your career, the important thing is to start. Waiting for the right time, sometimes the right time never comes. And don't be afraid to start small. Starting small is beautiful because when you start small, you learn through your field and you understand it better. So let's get started.
Let's get started, although it is time to finish our show today, our recording with Prisca. We are all leaving here today feeling inspired and ready to make our own small steps. Thank you so much, Prisca, for today's episode. To stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hack delivered, ladies and gentlemen, follow Woman on It and turn on notifications to be alerted once a video has been released. Next week, we're going to talk to Virginia Friscorn. We're going to talk about gathering, engaging, and connecting. We're going to learn how events can foster lasting communities. Thank you so much to our listeners. As always, our positivity quote comes from Positive Thinking Only and goes, look for something positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a little bit harder. And finally, as Maya Angelou, another great female leader, African American female leader, says, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Today is your day. This day is your time to hack the future you want. Thank you.